I've been playing guitar for more than 40 years, and today I'm going to show you how to play Blackfoot's Southern Rock epic, Highway Song. Good morning, and thank you for dropping by again to learn another classic guitar song with us here on the couch. Boy, do we have a good one for you today. One of my all-time personal favorites, Highway Song. In March of 1979, Blackfoot released their most commercially successful album, Strikes. Two songs from that album, Train, Train, and Highway Song, were not only hits at that time, but both have become enduring examples of the Southern rock sound, and both continue to be played and appreciated on classic rock radio to this day. Founding member and frontman Ricky Medlock, who's also a member of Lynyrd Skynyrd, was recently called Southern rock's brightest star. Stay with me after the lesson and we'll talk more about him, his band, his songs, and so much more. For now, let's jump right in and learn that classic intro riff. Our song today is in standard tuning. It starts out with an E minor chord shape. The first part of the riff sounds like this. So we're going to play that open low E string, a little bit of a pause, and then strings 5 and 4. And then it's 1, 2, 3, 4 coming back up from the bottom. Now we're also going to play the 5th string, but that is going to start our little slide section. So real quickly, we're going to slide from 2 to 3 on the A string, and then we're going to play the G and the D. And then we slide from 3 to 5 on the A string, but there's a little bit of a pause in the slide. And again, once we get there, we're going to hit the G, the D, and then the A strings. So again, that first little section. Now we're going to play a real similar passage, but instead of an E minor, we're going to go to an E minor 7. So this time, instead of it being the open E, pause, strings 5 and 4, it's the open E, pause, and strings 4 and 3. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we have the slide section, which is identical to the first time. Now we're going to go to a C major chord shape. We start out, instead of the open E, we're going to play that C note with our ring finger on the 3rd fret of the A. So that's the A string, and then 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to drop our pinky on the 3rd fret of the B string, and we're going to play the B and then the G. And then we let go of the C shape, middle finger goes to the 2nd fret of the A, and we're going to play the A and then immediately the open D. Now we're going to do a D sus chord shape, but I wrap my thumb over the top to play the 2nd fret of the low E string. So that's the E string, and then 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2. Then we have this. So that is a hammer-on from open to 2 on the A string, and then immediately play the D string open. And then the open E. It rings for just a second. We go to an E minor chord shape. That is 4-3-2-3 as far as the string order. Then we have a little walk up on the A string, open 1-2. We're going to form a B7 chord shape, but do not put your pinky down on the high E string as you normally would in a B7. It's just this little triangle right here on strings 3, 4, and 5. And we're going to play 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then immediately the open E again. And we're going to start our next pattern in the E minor 7 shape. We're going to do it twice with the slide. So we've just started that whole pattern over. The only thing that was different was instead of the E minor, we do the E minor 7 twice with the slides. Back to the C. To the D sus, all that's the same. With the little hammer on, and then the E minor 7, that's all the same. Walk up's the same, B7 is the same, but it ends differently. So the walk up and then 2, 3, 4, but it ends on 1, 2. And strings 1 and 2 ring open there until we start our first little mini solo, which starts like this. So that starts out on the G string, the 14th fret. We're going to bend it up, write it down, and pull off to 12. Then we're going to bend 15 up a full step. And we kind of stop, and then we're going to bend it up again. Bend it up again, play it unbent, 12, and then back to 15. And then real quick, 12 to 15, and then bend up 14 again, a full step. Then we have this. So that's 12 to 15 on the B, 14, bend it up, write it down, pull off to 12, back to 15 on the B. I'm going to play it a full bend up, come down, and then play it again unbent. Then we go to the E string. So 12 on the E, 15 on the E, play 15 again and give it some vibrato. 12, and then we bend up 15 on the E, a full step. Come down, play it unbent. 12 to 15, and then 14 on the E. 12 on the E. Bend 15 on the B up again. We go back to the G string. So that's a bend up, ride down, pull off to 12, and then play 14 unbent. And then it ends like this, which is 12 to 14 on the G, 12 on the B, 12 on the G, and we end on that E note there on the 14th fret of the D string, which is also the E that's ringing that takes us back into the first verse of the song. So again, that solo nice and slow. So after that first solo, we're going to transition into the first verse of the song, and that'll transition into the first chorus. After that, we'll go into the second guitar solo. After the second guitar solo, you have the ahs, and then the chorus and the verse are a little bit different. Then you have the third guitar solo, goes into another verse and chorus, which again is a little bit different. And then we're going to go into the faster part. And that's kind of the structure of the song. That starts the epic guitar solo. So let's talk about the verse and the chorus by themselves, though. The verse starts out the exact same picking pattern, the exact same chord progression as the intro riff, but you only play all the way through it one time. The second time you start it, but when you get to this part, that's where you would normally go to the B7 during the intro riff or the regular verse, but during the chorus, what we're going to do there is we're going to play a full E minor 7. We're going to strum it down one time, rings for a second, then we're going to play an A minor 7. Then we're going to pick 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to put our ring finger down on the 3rd fret of the B string. We're going to play 3rd fret of the B, 1st fret of the B, and then the G string. Then we're going to end 3rd fret of the E. So that little part is. Then we go to a full D major chord. And then 1, 2, 3. Then we end holding that D chord. We're going to put our pinky on the 5th fret of the E. We're going to play it down one time, and that's the end of the first chorus. Then we start another, well, it goes into a solo, and then we start another verse. So at the end of that one, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit longer. So we still go through the verse. We go through that pattern. Actually, we're going to go through it 2 times that time. Then the 3rd time around, when you get to this part, still have the E minor 7, then the A minor 7, then the D, but then it goes back to the E minor 7, so we're going to go through the chorus again. This time it holds a bit longer, and we're going to pick on the E minor 7 too. So that was 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 1. Then the A minor 7. It's the same, the D. And then that chord with the pinky on the 5. So that's the second time through the chorus, it's like that. The 3rd time through, we're going to do that exact same thing, but instead of twice, we're going to do it 4 complete times. And then that takes us into the faster part of the song, and that takes us into the epic solo at the end. Our second solo goes like this. So it starts out on the 4th fret of the G string. We're going to slide from there all the way up to 9. Play it again when you get there. Let it ring with some vibrato. Then we go to the 11th fret, still on the G string. We're going to go 11, 12, 11. And then we're going to go over here to the D string at 14 and 12. So that's 14, 12, 14. 12 on the G string, back to 14 on the D. Go up to the G string, we're going to bend up 14, write it back down, pull off to 12. 14 again. 12 on the G string. Then we're going to go to the B string, we're going to go 12, 15. And then bend 14 up a full step. Then we're going to bend up 14, write it down, pull off to 12, and we're going to go to 14 on the D. And then real quick, that's 12, 14 on the D, 14 on the A. and then we're going to go 12 to 14 on the A string to 12 on the E, to 9 on the G, then we're going to go 9, 7 on the D, 10 to 7 on the A. So again, that again is another E, which is the same as the open E, and that takes us into the beginning of our second verse, which starts again the same way. So we're going to slide on the G string from 2 to 4, and then we're going to slide on the B string from 3 to 5. Then we're going to go to the E string, we're going to go 2, 3, 5 on the G. Back to the E string, 2, 3, 3 on the B. 2, 3 on the E, 5 on the E, 5 on the B. So that whole little first part, I'm going to go up here to the 12th fret. We're going to rake down, hitting the 12th fret of the high E string. So a rake is I'm palm muting, and I'm not really letting the first string sound. I'm playing like strings 4 through 1. But the only string I really want to sound is 1, which is barred at the 12th, so it's going to be the 12th fret of the high E. After I hit there, I'm going to play 14 on the E, 15 on the E, 14 on the E, 12 on the E, and then I'm going to bend up 15 on the B. Bend that up a full step, and then we're going to go 12 to 15 on the B, and then bend up 14 on the E. I'm going to bend it up, write it down, pull off to 12, and back to 14. Then I'm going to go over here to 17 and 15 on the E string. Bend it up, write it down, pull off to 15, back to 17. Then I'm going to jump down a string to B. I'm going to pull off from 17 to 15. And I end up at the 16th fret of the G string. And then that's the part where you got the they're singing the ahs, and it goes back into the next verse right after that. So the next thing we'll play is that opening riff again. So after that last chorus where we play through it 4 times, go through that 4 complete times, then we're going to get into the fast part of the song. And it starts out here, it's still an E minor that we're playing, but he's just playing a power chord or an E5 chord. I'm going to go down here to a C power chord. These are reeded on the 5th fret, by the way. Up to a D power chord. Back to the E. There's a quick back and forth. Do the E again, to the C, to a B, and then it goes into an A going into the solo. That's the first time through. And the strum pattern is kind of like this. And then that starts the solo. The other times through, instead of going to the A at the end, we have a little walk down here on the 6th string. So that's 3, 2, open, and then an E minor chord. Or you can play an E power chord there, either way. That's during parts of it. At some parts, there's also, instead of just the walk down there, he's doing the actual power chord. So G to an F sharp to an E minor. And then back to the, you hit like one lead-in chord there on the D up to the E. So let's go ahead and jump into this final epic solo. I'll be the first to admit and tell you up front that this is a difficult solo. Parts of it are faster than I feel like I am competent at playing. There are parts of the solo that I feel like I've got it down right on the money. There are other parts, not so much, but I'm going to give you a pretty reasonable facsimile. So, as always, use what you can and leave the rest. But we'll start at the beginning and we'll just work through lick by lick. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So let's go one lick at a time on this one. It starts out like this. So that is a bend up on the 14th fret of the G string. Bend it up a full step, and while it's bent up, we're going to play the 12th fret of the E and the B. I guess I do pull off before I hit the E and the B. And then we're going to go to the 15th fret of the B string. We're going to bend it up and play it 4 times. We're going to bend and play each time. 5th time we're going to bend it up and write it back down, and then we're going to play it unbent. 4 more times there. Next lick is this. So I'm bending up 14 on the G string, and I'm playing the 12th fret of the E and the B, which I have barred. Then I'm going to do a double pull off from 15 to 12 on the B. Then I'm going to go to 14 to 12 on the 14 on the G to 12 on the B. Then that's a pull off from 15 to 14 on the G, and then I pull off again to 12, and then one more pull off from 14 to 12, and I wind up at 14 on the D, back to 12 on the G. Then I'm going to bend up real fast and write it down on 14 of the G, pulling off to 12, ending up at 14 on the D. So again, slowly. That's one that you just have to practice over and over again until you get it under your fingers quickly. It's primarily pull-offs, so it's not all that hard. It's not as difficult as it sounds. Next lick is this. So that's a slide up from probably 9 or so. Slide up to 12 on the G, and then with my open finger I pluck the E string, and then the pick, I pick the B, and then I'm going to bend up 15 on the B. Second time I bend it a little bit less, and then 4 times just picking it with vibrato. The next lick that comes right out of that is we're going to play 12 on the B, and we're going to hold that position at 12 on the B, but I'm going to put my ring finger down on 15 of the B. At the same time, I'm going to put my middle finger on 14 of the G. I'm pulling off, I'm playing the B and pulling off from 15 to 12, and then picking the 14 that I've got held on the G. It goes through that, I think, 5 times. We wind up on the 14, and that leads into the next lick, which is this. So that's 12 on the G. Bend it up, write it down, pull it back off from 14 to 12. Gonna wind up at 14 on the D. Play 14 on the D again and go to 12 on the D, back to 14 on the D. Next lick is this. Kind of a transition. It's picking 14 to 12 on the D, sliding 14 to 12 on the A, then playing 12 to 10 on the A, 12 on the E, 10 on the A, and then we're going to slide 12 to 14 on the A. Then the next lick is this. A little faster. So that is 14 on the D, and then we're going to hammer on from 12 to 14 on the G, pulling back off to 12 and landing on 14 on the D. Then we're going to bend up 14 on the G. We're going to play 12 on the B and then the E, and then we're going to pull off 15 to 12 on the E, winding up on 15 on the B. Then we have, so that's just bending up 15 on the B, catch 15 on the E string with your pinky. So we're slowly letting that B string back down, then we pick it again and go back up. That leads to the next lick. Emphasis is on the 15th fret of both the E and then when you go down to the B string. So that's 12, 12 on the B and the E, and then we're going to pull off 15 to 12 on the E string, and we're going to play the B string at 12. 15 to 12 on the E string, B string on 12. Trying to end on that 15th fret too. Start on it and end on it. Then we drop down 2 strings, so now we're doing the same thing, but we're on the B and the G. And then it ends with, so again, rocking that B string at 15, catching the 15th fret of the E string. Then we go into this. This is one of those licks that I can't really play quite fast enough to make it sound exactly like the record, but pretty close facsimile. So 14 on the G to 12 on the B, and then we're going to bounce 15 to 12 and then 14 to 12. So I'm pulling off both, and then 14 on the G, back to 12 on the B. He does that for actually 6 measures, and it's like 3 times each measure, so whatever that is, like 18 times. Then he goes up to the next 2 strings up, and he does the same thing, but this time we're going to be bouncing off the 15th fret of the B instead of 14 like we did down here on the G. That's one of those ones that you can practice it over and over and you get a little bit faster. So I can tell I'm a lot faster than when I started learning it, but I'm still not quite there, but that's pretty close facsimile. And then that little section of the lick ends like this. So that's just bending the E string at 15. So I bend it, I play it bending up, and then I play it unbent. Go back to 12 on the E, and then go back to the bend on the 15 of B, bouncing off 15 on the E. Our next lick is this. So those are unison bends. We start out on the G string and the B string. We're going to bend up 14 of the B, and then right away hit 12 on the B, bending the G, hitting the B. Does it like 5 times and it ends on the G string. Then we just move up a set of strings to where we're going to be bending 15 of the B and we're going to be hitting 12 of the E. Same amount of times, 5 I think on each, and ends on the B string in that case. The next lick is this. So that starts out with a lick that we learned way back, but it ends a little bit differently there. So that's bending up, writing down, pulling off 14 to 12 on the G string, and we wind up at 14 on the D. We're going to play it a total of 3 times, once right after we land there, little pause when we play it again twice. Now we're going to do it again, but we're going to do it almost exactly like the lick we did a few licks earlier when we first learned it. So bend up, ride down, pull off the same, wind up on 14 of the D, play it again, and then go to 12 of the D, back to 14 of the D. This time we're going to keep going though. Instead of ending there, I think we went into a different transition earlier. Yeah, we did. We went down here. This time we're going to keep going. We're going to go 14 on the D to 12 on the G, and then we're going to do the little 14, 12, 14 on the G. So from the beginning. Then that's the end of that little part of the lick. Now we start a new lick, and it's almost like the second lick of the song, but it ends a little bit differently. So bend up 14 of the G, play 12 of the E and 12 of the B, pull off twice, pull off 15 to 12, 15 to 12 on the B, 14 on the G, 12 on the B, and then we go to the G string. We're going to pull off 15 to 14 to 12, and then 14 to 12, and we come down here to 14 on the D. First time we ended there, this time we're going to continue that little melody. And we go 14 to 12 to 14 on the D string there too. Next little passage goes like this. So that starts out at 10 on the B string. We're going to bend it up, write it down, pull off to 8 on the B string, and then we wind up with 3 hits on 9 on the G. Do the same thing, but we're going to only hit the G string once, then we're going to go to 10 on the D and hit it 2 more times. Same thing, but 1 on the G, this time 2 on the B at 10. Now we're going to bend up that B, catch the 8th fret, I'm sorry, the 10th fret of the E string with our pinky, play it twice, ride that B back down, pull off to 8 on the B, go back to 9 on the G. Like that. So that whole little passage again, kind of slow. Next, in this next little section, Charlie Hargett and Ricky Medlock are actually doubling each other, but they're playing different notes, so it kind of harmonizes, and it sounds like a different note. So it's not going to sound quite right here with one guitar playing it. This is kind of the best that I've come up with at this point. At least one of them, I think Ricky starts out on the 14th fret. He's bending it up several times, going back to the 12. He does that a few times, and he goes to the 15 and does it a few times. Something like that. If you want to change that up towards the end, I think the other guitar gets a little bit more prevalent, and that is on the 15th and the 17th of the B string. So, and there's no pulling off to anything, it's just those two frets. And then right at the end, when you're on 15 on the B, we're going to catch that 15 with the E. The next lick goes like this. So the tail of that one should sound familiar because we played it earlier, but it starts out with 2 bends on the 15th fret of the B. Then we go to the 17th fret of the B, bend it once, and then we're going to go 15 on the B to 12 on the E, and then 14 to 12 on the G. Back to 14 on the G, and we're going to start that little tail. So that's 14G, 12G, 14G, 12B, 12G, 14D. A little vibrato at the end. The next lick goes like this. That's bend up the 15 and play it unbent. We're doing some pinch harmonics there, so we're just barely letting the pick stick out of our fingers. We're playing it and letting it bounce off the pad of our thumb. Makes it squeal. So the first one we bend it up and then we play it unbent. And then we're also, the second time, we're going to bend it up, write it down, pull off to 12. Come back to 15 on the E. Then we're going to go down to 15 on the B and do bend it up, write it down, pull it off to 12. Come to 14 on the G. And then, which is kind of like a lick we did earlier. So that's a pull off from 15 to 14 on the G to 12. And then 14 to 12. And then 14 on the D. And then we have this little tail again, just like we did the last lick. So 14 on the G, 12, 14. Then we go to the B, 12, G, 12, and D, 14. That's how we end it. Next lick, we jump down here to the, and at this point too, something to keep in mind is that Charlie and Ricky start trading off licks in this area. So one of them's playing the, one guy's playing that while the other guy's playing a lick, and they'll switch back and forth. So keep in mind, if any of these licks, if they don't sound right to you or if they're too fast for you, or you just want to stick with the rhythm. That's always an option when you're one guitar player playing through the song. So the next one goes down here to the 2nd fret of the G string. A lot of pinch harmonics. We're going to bend it up and then bend it right back down and play it. So it's kind of up, down, up, down, up, down. And then we have, does it real fast. And also kind of muting, palm muting there a little bit. So that's pulling off 2 to open on the G, to 2 on the D, back to the pull off again on G, 2 on D, open on G, and then we're going to slide 2 to 4. Once you get there to 4, there's a real quick section. And this is me kind of improvising because I'm not 100% sure on the notes here. Pull off 5 to 3 on the E, 5 to 3 on the B, and then I'm going to pull off 4-2 open on the G, and then bend up, ride down, pull off to open, wind up at 2 on the D. Then it goes to this. That's pulling off 5 to 3 on the B, to 4 on the G, back to 3 on the B. So I'm kind of bouncing it back and forth there, with that being the note, the pivot note. And then we do the 4-2 open pull off again on the G. Bend it up at 2, ride it down, pull off to open, and then go to 2 on the D. Then we have one more round of the up and down at 2 on the G, and another bend up, ride down, and hit 2 on the D. Next lick is this. That is a kind of a slow bend with some vibrato on the 7th fret of the A string. Then I do the same thing on the D string. Between those 2 notes, if you want to hit the 5, I think on the record it hits the 5 there real softly. Then we have slide up from 7 to 9 on the D, go to 7 on the G, pull off 9 to 7, and then go to 9 on the D. Then we're gonna slide up from 7 to 9 on the G. Then we go to 8 on the B. We're gonna bend B up twice at 10. But the second time we're gonna ride it down, pull off to 12, go to 9 on the G, and then back and forth between 8 on the B and 9 on the G. Ending there at the 9 on the G. Next, we do something like this. That is pulling off from 10 to 7 on the E, on the B. Then we go to the G and we pull off 7 to 9. Then 9 on the D, back to 7 on the G, back to 9 on the D, to 7 on the D, and then 2 at 5 on the D. Then there's something that sounds kind of like this. It's like pulling off from 4 to open on the G and then hitting 5 on the D. And then a quick bend up with harmonics at 10 on the B. Then we go up to the 15th fret again next, which was the exact same lick that we started the whole song with. Then we have some of these. like a set of 3 of them, pulling off 15 to 12 on the B, and then hitting where I've got my finger planted at 14 on the G, and then bend up 14, pull off to 12 on the G, 14 on the D, rock it back to 12 on the G, back to 14 on the D. Then we have a quick walk down the chromatic scale here, actually the pentatonic scale. Ends up right there at 14 on the A, but it's 14 to 12 on the D, 14 to 12 on the A, 15 to 12 on the E, 15 on the E, 12 on the A, and then 14 on the A, and that's where that ends. Then we go back to that same lick at 15 there. We're bending it up 4 times, playing it unbent 4 times with some vibrato. And then we have that's that lick I can't play fast enough. It's pulling off from 15 to 12 and then 14 to 12 on the B, and then hitting 14 on the G, back to 12 on the B. I think the key is what note you place the emphasis on, and I'm probably just not doing it right and or not doing it quite fast enough, so I need to practice on that one for sure. Then we're going to end up with the next we have this like 3 times real fast. That's 12 on the G, pulling off 14 to 12 on the D, ending up at 12 or 14 on the A. Does that 3 times real fast, and then we go to our next lick. So that is bending up at 14 on the G, and we're hitting 15 on the B. So you do it up once, hit B 3 times, and then one more bend up and hit B, one more bend up and hit B. So a total of 3 bends on the G, and then bend up right down, pull off to 12 on the G, hit 14 on the D, and then 12 on the G, and then you're going to pull off, hammer on, pull off 2 times on the D. Actually 3 times. And then that ends with, so again, the bend up on 14 on the G, hitting 15 on the B. Do that several times, and then you combine the 2 and bend them both. Next lick is, it's kind of 2 sets of that. That's pulling off 15 to 12 on the E, hitting 12 on the B, and you end back at 15 on the E. Do that 2 times, and then, which we've done before, so that's just bending up 15, playing it bent and unbent. It's bending up 15 on the B, hitting 15 on the E, and then 2 bends up 15 on the E. And then you're going to do that whole little section again. So it goes through that twice. We're in the home stretch. Next we have, so that's 17 to 15 on the B. We're going to go, so 15, 15, I'm sorry, 17, 15, 15. Back to 17. And then it ends 17 to 15 on the E. So then we go back to the bend up on the 14 to hitting 15 on the B, bending on the G, just like we did last time. And then we're going to do about 6 of these. That's bending up, riding down, 14 to 12, pulling off to 12 on the G, winding up at 14 on the D. And then that little stretch finishes up again with exact count there, I'm not sure, but something like that. Then as the song starts to fade out, and it fades out over the next few measures, we go back to that last series of licks that we had. So that's just like we learned them just a little bit ago, and finally we're finished. Blackfoot's band name comes from the fact that 3 of the 4 original members, Ricky Medlock, Jackson Spires, and Greg Two Wolves Walker, come from Native American descent. Lead guitarist Charlie Hargret was the original band's only Caucasian member. Ricky Medlock's story is a fascinating one. Adopted and raised by his grandparents, Ricky was taught to play the banjo at the age of 3 by his grandfather, professional bluegrass musician Shorty Medlock. At the age of 5, Ricky was playing drums, and by the age of 8, he was performing live with his grandfather's band. Before graduating high school, Ricky had also mastered guitar, mandolin, and piano. He also taught himself how to sing and became proficient at singing while playing an instrument. After graduation, Ricky founded his first band. Following a couple of name and personnel changes, that band evolved into Blackfoot. Being from Jacksonville, Florida, and also working as a session musician, Ricky played drums, wrote material for, and even sang on Lynyrd Skynyrd's original demo recordings. Those recordings were later released as the album known as Skynyrd's First, the complete Muscle Shoals album. Following the performance on that project, Ricky was asked to join Skynyrd, which he did, putting Blackfoot on hold for 2 years. In 1972, Ricky returned to Blackfoot full-time. He was asked again to rejoin or reform Lynyrd Skynyrd in 1996, but this time as a guitarist. He still records and tours with Skynyrd to this day. He has stated publicly that he is very grateful and humbled to realize just how rare it is to achieve a high level of success, not only with one band, but with 2. Ricky Medlock was inducted into the Native American Hall of Fame in 2008. Blackfoot's first hit came in 1979 from their 3rd studio album, Strikes. The first was a Southern rock cover of a bluegrass song written by Ricky's grandfather, Shorty. Train, Train was in constant rotation on album-oriented rock radio in the spring and summer of 1979, and it still receives airplay today. Highway Song was the album's 2nd single and rose even higher on the charts and in popularity. Albums that followed featured hits like Gimme 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 and Fox Chase. Highway Song is the story of a hard and lonely life on the road experienced by touring musicians. Many young people have fallen prey to the allure of fame and fortune, only to realize that money, material things, and a wild life on the road are not fulfilling and do not provide true happiness. This can be seen in the high rates of addiction, divorce, early death, and also sadly by those who've ended their own lives while appearing to have it all. Still, other people idolize those who become rock stars and try to live that type of lifestyle, soon finding themselves ensnared in the same traps. If you fall into either of those categories, as always, I would encourage you to pick Jesus. I'd encourage you to seek Him and the things of God with all of your heart. He is the one who provides lasting satisfaction, comfort, and peace. He is the one who can break the chains that bind us. He is the one who provides life and life more abundant than you'll ever find chasing the world's ideas of success. If you like what I'm doing here, please give me a thumbs up below and subscribe to my channel if you've not already done so. If you need a new set of guitar strings or if you'd like to own any of the gear that I use here in these videos, I'll post affiliate links in the description. When you make an Amazon purchase using those links, I'll receive a small commission and you'll not pay a dime extra. I do sincerely appreciate your support, and I very sincerely look forward to having you join us back here again soon, right here on the couch.